All right. Hello, folks. Today on Top of Funnel, I'm speaking with former star physics student Muhammed Mutahr on his really early decision-making process on his super early investment in AST SpaceMobile way back in 2021. Okay. I am so thrilled to see you live here in person, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so all right. So first of all, let me just show you something here real quick, and just gonna do this. And all right. So can you see this?
Yes, yes.
You know who this lady is right here.
Absolutely.
Who
That's
is
my that's
that?
my role model and big sister for two Mutar.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the last time I had the pleasure of speaking with a member of the illustrious Mutar family. Is she still an engineer?
She is. She recently went into retirement. She is now raising two beautiful daughters with her husband.
Oh,
And she's focusing on family right now, but she has never stopped working. She's never stopped learning. She's actually, I think she pursued a master's even after retiring, and another bachelor's as well. So she's always learning, always growing, and that's how she's always been.
I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, it's like just super fond memories of you guys back way back in the DCMC. What year did you graduate from high school?
'09, 2009,
So man,
long
it
time
has
now.
yeah, it has been a while. All right, real quickly, give me a brief overview of what happened at high school. You go to college, Wayne State Engineering.
Yep, yep. I went to Wayne State University, graduated with a bachelor's in computer science. From there, I did a few like co-ops and stuff like that. I worked at American Axle. From there, transitioned to the automotive industry. Worked at GM for a couple of years. I wanted to pursue a little bit of a different path. Went to Meridian. I got as a senior engineer. Worked there for a few years, and then I had jumped into starting my own company as a consultant. So I started doing contract work for a few companies through a network called TopTal, which they introduce you to like these Fortune 500 companies and even small companies as well. And I started doing contract work through them.
Cool.
So I worked with them for a while,
You
and
did
just kind
app development for a while, didn't you? Like you
of,
had
yep.
something going on. Yeah.
All this was app development. It was all full stack engineering. So built applications for a lot of these companies, startups, Caterpillar, Ford. Currently, right now, also doing work for Ford on a contract basis on their AI team. So diving into
Wow.
that and being able to work on some of the stuff they're working on is really fun. In 2020ish was when I really started diving into like the investing world and stuff like that. I'd
I
done
was
it
going to
prior.
ask you about that. So it's like you're doing this consulting thing. It's like you're kind of like you've got your tentacles out, feeling out the world of business. Kind of you have a little bit of an entrepreneurial type of thing going on inside you, and you're into investing. So, tell me what it was 2021, is that right? When you first invested in AST SpaceMobile?
Yeah, 2021 was when we had first invested in AST. And I say we because a lot of this was, back and forth, tearing apart the idea with my business partner, Life. We have done like real estate investing together. We had built a portfolio of real estate assets and stuff like that, and then started diving into stocks. And in 2020, like the end of 2020 going into 21, you remember the GameStop saga? We went in on GameStop on the thesis and trying to understand the short squeeze aspect of it. We increased position as it went up, and then we're able to scale out as it peaked and went down. And so that was a good investment for us, and we're like, we got to replicate this somehow. And that's when we started diving into like the whole SPAC world and everything from there.
Okay, so the SPAC world was your entree into AST SpaceMobile.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so here's the thing. It's like that's a little different than what I kind of had in the back of my head because I'm thinking, okay, this guy is all about the computer science. He's all about the computer science. He knows all about app development. He knows all the technology going on in cell phones. Did that play any role in your investment back then, or was it completely just you were looking for SPACs? You were looking for that type of
So
opportunity?
it wasn't necessarily, I'm not an expert in mobile technology. I'm not an expert in 5G. I'm not an expert in physics. But I do pride myself in like diving into like the financial and the opportunity at hand, specifically with a company like this, right? And I've seen people parody it to something like Netflix, where there's a subscriber base and that subscriber base can scale up to a large amount. And if you just think of like ASTS, um, what do they do, right? Like they're going to provide global coverage direct to cell for potentially billions of people. And how are they going to get to billions of people? Is it with, marketing? Not really. They've partnered with all these MNOs who can just turn on the switch eventually when everything is running, and they have immediate access to, right now in America, probably 800 million people, or I'm sorry, in the North America through Verizon, AT&T, 800 to 2.7 billion people globally.
Right.
And that just comes from being a partnership with these MNOs.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's my mind is kind of blowing a little bit because like your knowledge of business has just incredibly expanded since the last time
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
knew you. This is really cool to hear this. Um so how about this? It's like, all right, you understand like the business market potential for this company, but we're talking about a company that's trying to do something that has never been done in human history, okay? And a lot of people look at this as, literally like Jim Cramer, the guy on CNBC talks about this being a speculative company. A lot of
Right.
people just don't have the belief or the faith that they're going to be able to technologically pull this off. But you feel confident that they're going to pull it off.
Yeah, I feel really confident. I mean, although I'm not an expert in like the tech, just being around it for so long and being in a bunch of different, there's a lot of like the community around this company as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Space Mob, or there's a report that's out there. It's called the Kook Report. I'll share that with you as well, and maybe you can post it on the YouTube channel. Insanely detailed. I mean, you're talking detail that you would find from like a Barclays report, or Deutsche Bank or something, but even more so diving into the technology, the competitors, the moats, like everything like that.
Retail tribe, this is what I'm getting, is like the retail tribe, and just to give you just to give you my perspective of the bigger picture of what's going on, okay, is when I was in grad school at U of M studying economics, everybody, including the business professors that taught finance over there, were all about the efficient market hypothesis, and they all said that indexing was the only way to go, and it was a waste of time to do fundamental analysis. So we've had this huge movement towards indexing, and the Wall Street pros have kind of given up almost. I mean, not completely, but they're not putting that much time and effort into digging into the details that these
Right.
retail community members like yourself and the others that you found are doing. And the social media and YouTube and stuff like that is able to, give people this connection ability. So people like you and others and myself, we're digging up stuff that I don't even think the Wall Street pros are getting access to some of this information.
No, I would agree. I mean, I've been on their quarterly earnings reports almost every single call since 21. And just based on the questions that you hear from analysts that have been on the call, and like the slowly growing number of analysts that join the call, like you kind of understand they don't really know what's going on yet. And that's a huge, that leaves a huge upside for us. There's
Their
no
education,
institutional
well, their educational, I'm sorry to
ownership.
cut you off, but their educational
You're good.
background oftentimes doesn't include engineering or physics. They're finance people. I'm nothing against finance. That's a way of understanding a business. But if you don't understand the technology and the physics behind it, it's like you don't even have the the tools for understanding
Yeah,
the technological transformation opportunity.
absolutely. And I mean, motivations are different, right? Like you have like somebody who's indexing, it's really wealth preservation, and then you'll have retail who probably want to focus on, you know, how do I get rich off of this? Like, is there a way for me to invest my capital and eventually get rich off of something that could be a
Our
hundred
money's
baggers?
on the line.
Right, right.
Yeah. So we're going to pay a
So
little closer attention to it because it's our money that we're putting on the line.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. That's so
So
cool.
I
Go
would
ahead.
say you had asked the question, why do I feel so confident about it? And I don't know if you've ever read the book 100 Baggers, How to Churn, essentially how to multiply your investment from 1 to 100. I'll get you the title of that book as well. I read it a while ago, but my thesis is largely centered around that. And me and like we've broken down where it was in the past and then where it's going now. And so I've taken some notes on just in preparation for this call. One, I don't think it's no longer a binary bet, right? It's no longer, if they get the technology working, if this, if they get the financing, if they have the approvals, they have all of that, right? Like from a technological perspective, they launched Blue Walker 3, they've launched Block 1 of the Bluebird, and they were able to connect with voice and data. So tech is working. Unless something happens where it unfurls improperly or something damages a satellite or a launch happens and blows up, God forbid something like that happens, the tech is working and that's kind of been de-risked for the most part. Now, from the
They have
regulation,
access to public capital, right? And they're the
yes,
only one in that
absolutely.
space that is currently public. So it's like even if they had like a series of really bad mishaps, it's like they can always access the public markets and get the funding to push them through, their any tough times that they have in front of them. I don't expect that to be the case, but yeah,
That
I don't think it's binary at this point.
No, not at all. And like to speak to that point, in 2024 is when they had the most financial distress. Since then, they've raised $3 billion in cash that they have on hand, and so that $3 billion represents them getting their entire constellation up into space. So we're talking however many they're planning to do 6 satellites per month for the rest of this 2026, and they've already just launched one on I think it was Christmas Eve. Did you watch that launch?
Yeah, I saw just this little piece of that, and I know everybody's all excited and everything. So yeah,
So that was a good it was a successful launch. So they're going to do 5 to 6 of those a month for the next year. So financing it's been de-risked. The tech has been de-risked. The regulation they have approval on their specific spectrum that they own from the FCC. So that's huge, and their partners have already committed. Right, you have AT&T, Vodafone, Rakuten, STC Group from Saudi Arabia. They've just committed $1 billion, and they've given them like $175 million in prepayment. So
what
all
a
that's
what a
huge,
great business model, right? They're partnering. They're not competing against these people. They're partnering
right?
with them. They're in many cases they're investors and stuff. So it's like, oh, it's so smart.
I think that's one of the smartest things they've done. Whereas I feel like Starlink is almost in competition with the MNOs, which it definitely leaves a little bit in terms of like, is it a monopoly? You can potentially have multiple competitors in the arena, but Starlink's, I would say their strategy is a little bit different. Even though they've partnered up with T-Mobile, they could still eat their lunch at the end of the day. Like T-Mobile could potentially be afraid of what Starlink is doing versus, AT&T and Verizon with ASTS. Like that's a partnership. They're helping you grow.
If I could piggyback on that, is that I don't. Did you ever know or hear of? I don't even know what year he graduated. Mike Nowak.
Yeah, yeah, we
Uh,
were in the same class. Good friends
what?
with Mike Noah. Yeah, yeah.
You know Mike Nowak?
We have
Okay.
we haven't spoken since, honestly, but I through you mentioned that he did satellite connectivity. I was like, I gotta reach out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he went from U of M. He was going to he went to Broadcom for a while, AVGO, and then he did for years. I think he's still doing it maybe. He's doing like satellite to uh airplane, like airlines, okay?
Right.
And dealing with like the issue of the receiver dish. And last time I talked to him, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like really complex. Like they have to have like gimbal mounted receiver dishes that track the satellites as the plane flies around. And So, anyways, yeah, he says that he worked with Abel Avalon.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
crazy. That's wild.
So yeah, it's wild that he knows this guy. And then he also said that because one of the things I mentioned in my video is that Europe is probably going to really drag their feet on adopting any type of Starlink version of the AST SpaceMobile because you know, do they trust Elon? And there's that whole issue of are they a competitor,
Right.
or are they, are they working with us or against us, basically? So yeah, yeah, Mike confirmed that is going to be a real issue.
Yeah, I
And
believe it.
and then from my perspective, I'm looking at this thing, Elon's a genius, right? Okay, he is truly a genius, but he's in his 50s at this point, and he's got Neuralink, he's got Tesla, he's got the Boring Company, he's got XAI, he's got so many things. I mean, yeah, is he almost superhuman? Yeah, almost. But come on, does he have the time to really dig into the details of the core strategy that you need? So, I'm teaching economics part-time these days, and we talk about market models, and so I agree. I think it's either going to be a monopoly with ASTS owning almost the entire market, like Google does for search, or it's going to be a duopoly with ASTS the majority of the market, right? Do you see it the same way? I mean, there's no number
Yeah.
three out there.
Yeah, I would say there's no clear number three right now. I would say the two would be ASTS and Starlink being a couple years behind. Starlink, I get the question a lot whenever I try to convince family or friends to invest in ASTS is like, well, isn't Starlink already doing this? Not really. You got to look at them more of like a router and Wi-Fi versus direct to cell. They don't have the technology or the frequency for their satellites in order to reach, cell phones. They have the
Cell
reason
is a
they need the
completely
router is the
different
spectrum.
animal. It's a
Yeah,
completely different animal. The antenna size, the scale of the power that you need for the transmitting down to Earth.
right.
It's like they're gonna have to completely, and I mentioned that in my video, they're gonna have to completely redesign the satellites if they want to go direct to cell
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
deliver the same bandwidth.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we were just talking about was like partnerships with these MNOs, right? You have spectrum already available through AT&T, through Verizon. Whereas and that's I think in complete total that's around 80 megahertz of spectrum for ASTS, whereas Starlink has like 5 megahertz of spectrum and it's high frequency spectrum, meaning they need like those routers. They need it's fast, but it's not necessarily going to be good connection between the two. And so there's just a lot of things that go into ASTS's favor, I would say, and the biggest one probably being that they don't need to modify their cell phones and that they have as much spectrum as they do through the partnerships that they have with the MNOs.
Yeah, I mean, SpaceX is their mission is to go to Mars, right?
Right.
So, and they got, the business of taking stuff and putting it in space and stuff like that. And the Starlink thing, yeah, that's cool. Starlink is cool, but yeah, it's not the same, and doesn't have the focus. And so yeah, I think we're going to end up with a duopoly with AST having 85, 90% of the market, and maybe there's going to be a little bit. And so this brings me to a couple other things here that I want to ask you about. So, what is your assessment of the current opportunity for new investors? If people are interested in getting into AST SpaceMobile, I think it's trading at $73 a share right now. It's like 1 year out and 3 years out, 5 years out. Like, what do you think the future is going to be?
So I think it's hard because people see the growth that's already happened, and they're afraid of I've already missed out on an opportunity. It's not something necessarily that I want to put a lot of money into.
Economics,
And
you can never look at the water under the bridge.
you
That's what
can't.
a lot of people psychologically don't get is that you can never look at the water that's gone under the bridge. You have to always look forward, right? In making any economic decision. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And I mean, just like there has been a reduction in convexity, right? Like it's gone from $2 in 2024. It hit a peak of over 100 the past couple months, and now it's around 70, 74, like you mentioned, and it's on its way to, in my opinion, even higher numbers. I think there's definitely an opportunity there, and one of the things that there's a AST calculator that somebody has created in the community, and they put like the outstanding shares that they have there, the valuation, the average revenue per user, and the amount of users that they have. If kind of I would say conservatively estimate 800 million users at $2.50 for the average revenue per user, and then some operating costs and some additional revenue from other places. At a 15x multiple on EBITDA, which I think is pretty standard. Their margins are something like 90 to 95%, I believe.
Yep.
And so at that multiple, it's $1,000 a share for the stock. And so from 70 to $1,000, there's a lot of room in there. And I
Yeah, we're
believe
talking at least a 10x.
at least a 10x opportunity, and in maybe even more, right? Like and that's just at 250. That's just at 800 million users. What if they go to a billion users, 2 billion users? What if they
You know
make more
what?
than 250 per user?
What you're telling me is exactly what I was thinking when I penciled out all the numbers and I did my prep for that video. Um, that is just spot on. And this is independent research on my side, so it's like I agree.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of room to run. I mean, they haven't even gone, to the public yet. So there's no commercial utilization. Nobody's paying for it yet. And if the question is there still upside? 100%. I mean,
The Wall Street pros are not going to all get on board. You're not going to get the Jim Cramers on board until they actually see the earnings show up in the spreadsheets for so
right.
it's like until then they're going to hold off. But when those earnings do drop in and they began to see, oh, this company is actually printing cash, then they're going to perceive the risk to be way lower and then the demand for the stock is going to explode. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, um, we always have to, think about pros and cons when we're in this investment game. So what would be a catalyst for you to sell this stock? Have you thought of that?
A catalyst to sell the stock. I think it's never bad to de-risk from an opportunity. So if it hits certain milestones, there might be milestones where I feel like I can take out maybe my cost basis and just like ride the rest. Um, I don't know. I would have to be like significant regulatory like blockage for ASTS. It would have to be something within the next year of some major delays in their getting their constellation up. I don't really see anything like I'm not really worried about competitors. I'm not really worried about the tech not working because they've already proved it out. Anything at this point, even though it might affect the stock price, I don't think it's going to kill the company because of how much cash they have on hand and even the underlying assets that like they recently acquired Legato, I think for $550 million plus 80 years of revenue share. And so like there's underlying assets to ASTS, which will probably prevent it from going much lower than $40 to $50 a share. And so let's say something happens in the next couple of months where there's a delay to the constellation getting up and they always say space is hard. And so like there's potential there will be delays. I don't know if there will ever be a time where I will sell ASTS. More so along the lines of just holding the position, maybe trading around the position, even selling covered calls against the position at a time where, even if it goes up to $1,000 a share, I might still hold that position and not sell it and just figure out ways to make money off of the position. Maybe they'll have, dividends that they'll pay out, and I'd love to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I feel the exact same way. It's like for me, I'm in this for the next 5 years, and regardless of, it's going to be volatile, right? Because like, hey,
Very.
it's pre earnings and blah blah blah, and there's going to be, there could be a satellite launch that blows up and stuff. So it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, that for me would be a buying opportunity. I only have about maybe 8% of my portfolio in it, and I would feel comfortable going all the way up to probably 15%. I could easily double the size of my position and I'd feel perfectly comfortable.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Is there anything else that you think that people watching this should know about ASTS? I guess I mean that cool thing about the community that people can plug into and continue, Space Mob, is that what it's called?
Yep. On Twitter or X, they have a it's called the Space Mob, right? There's a core group of people that just constantly, release due diligence, and they'll dive into like FCC dockets, and they'll find, and there's a lot. I mean, there's people that I've worked on satellites before. There's people that are in the financial world that manage, maybe institutions and stuff like that. So there's a lot of smart people in the community, smarter than me, and they're the where I get all my information from.
People that have
So
expertise in all these different things. I mean, you,
absolutely,
you probably have somebody in there and their whole life is about digging through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office database and finding the new patents that they're filing, and that's another thing is like really exciting. There's like 3,000 patents that they have
oh yeah,
either in place or pending. That's another really nice barrier to
they
entry.
have they have so many moats, right? Like if you were to ask me why ASTS, they have their moats around the commercial wholesale model, partnering with their MNOs. 60 to 70% of the U.S. market already locked up. They have the regulatory moats where they have the spectrum via their partners. They have you can't really replicate that. Any partnerships, you can't just create spectrum, right? You need to partner with somebody or go through like this long regulatory process in order to get spectrum. And all of the FCC's frameworks already favor the ASTS, so like they've already been put into place. And then from like the physics moat, they're huge antennas, they're satellites, and those things, the way they unfurl and all that stuff can't be replicated. Like you mentioned, they have 3,000 plus patents, all tied to their tech. And then the owner operator, I mean, he owns what 78 million shares. He has 85% of the voting power. Like nothing is like that's huge when talking about a company as being founder led, and he's that specific founder. He's at two exits, and he's just somebody that's going to be able to execute all those
Electrical
moments.
engineer by training. I mean, it's like, I mean,
Exactly.
he when you have a guy that is the chief technologist is the CEO, right? That's a real key competitive strength and a technologically transformative type of business. And one of the things that Mike Nowak said is that, well, he kind of had a reputation of being a dreamer, and it's like, well, yeah, but listen, you need to have those dreams if you are going to make large transformative technological change. You have to have a person. So he's got the vision. What we're talking about is vision, and he has the technical, so he can get into the weeds of like how they're using AI in order to allocate and improve the efficiency of their utilization of their spectrum and stuff like that on the call that I listened to recently. It's like this guy is, I mean, he understands how the data is going through these things better than probably anybody
Yeah.
else, right? And he's leading the company and he's got all this ownership stake. He's not doing this, as something that he's doing this because he knows, and he's from what country is he from? Like South America or Peru or
Yeah. I believe he's Venezuelan.
Venezuelan. Yeah. So I mean, his whole career
Venezuelan,
has
I
been
believe
based
so.
about like, hey, getting connectivity to people in underserved markets, right? Through satellite technology, and because that's been his whole focus, he's like, okay, we're just gonna blanket the whole globe and connect everybody on planet Earth through satellite capability. And from my standpoint, as a person that studied economics, I know how important broadband connectivity is for economic development and GDP, right? And I think you you
Absolutely.
you probably do you have family overseas? Do you have
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have I have family out in Yemen. I have family. my wife's family's from Palestine, so like there's there's challenges in the Middle East, there's challenges in Africa, there's a lot of places that aren't necessarily connected or connected the best, and so this solves like beyond just the U.S. market, beyond the partners that are there. There's places that can be connected to the internet that have never been connected before. So that's a huge part that we're almost not even including.
Right, right. So that's really cool that you have that special insight, from your connections and stuff like that. You understand the importance in developing markets and stuff like that for this technology and how it's going to transform their ability to learn, their ability to conduct business, their ability to participate in the global economy. It's gonna be huge.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's good. It's good for the world, and it's going to be good for investors.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're betting on.
All right, all right. So, man, Mohammed, this has been so cool. I am so excited to have the opportunity to see you and to talk with you. This has just like been like wow. So
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely. When I saw you post that video on ASTS, I was like, I have to reach out. This has been something that I've been passionate about for the last couple of years. Since 2021. So I thought to reach out and say that was a cool video. I thought you did a really good job hitting on the parts from technological, from the aspect of where it can make money and the market opportunities. So I'm glad I got to do this with you.
oh, thanks a lot. That's really nice to hear. And I am so glad that you are. I mean, I'm not surprised at how well you're prospering, knowing, you were one of the stars at the DC
Appreciate that.
Embassy All-Star School. And so yeah, I mean, this has just been, as an educator, this is like the ultimate for me to be able to check in on someone that has taken what we tried to do, starting off with these young people, and to see where you've blossomed into this incredible mind of business and technology and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. We couldn't have done it without you, Mr. Whittaker.
No.
Teachers like you are the reason why we're at where we're at. So we appreciate that. I
No.
was UCMST we always look fondly on. That was a great time in our lives, and not a lot of teachers put in as much effort as you guys did. We especially loved your class. We had a great time in there. It was both fun and educational, and a lot of the stuff that we've taken out from there into the world. And many thanks to you guys, the
Well,
educators.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. So, yep, we're gonna have to wrap it up. So thank you so much. And you know, this has been Top of Funnel with Jeff Whittaker and Muhammed Mutahr. We're gonna have to do a follow-up to this at some point in the future and just see what
Absolutely.
what's going on, okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm down for it.
All right, very cool. All
Take care,
right.
Mr. Whitaker. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.